Yo, what is up guys, Dream here, and in today's video I am going to share with you all of my day 1 Sentinel discoveries, and oh man, there is a lot. But first, forgive me for the tiredness, and also forgive me for the no editing. Time is tight, I'm sure you understand. And if you liked the video, make sure to check out a thumbs up and sub to the Grim. Without further ado, let's get into it. So right out of the gate, I can tell you, all rare, crazy modifiers aside, Sentinel is a winner. It's one of the most fun mechanics I've played in a long time. I would rank it above Expedition in the fun and interest factor, and we'll go into why that is in a second here. But it is essentially a ton of insane rewards with no cost to your character apart from challenge. It's not intrusive, and you get a lot of agency over how you interact with it. It combines with everything in the game really interestingly, and overall it's an absolute blast to play with. There's so much customization, it's really insane. Okay, so now I've hyped it enough. The loot's insane, the customization is insane, it's not intrusive. Oh boy, let's get into the nitty gritty. So if you're not a Sentinel veteran, I had a video going over my initial thoughts on the league, and it explains quite well how the league actually works. But in white maps, yellow maps, and red maps, it's fair to say Sentinel is an immense amount of income. So if you're looking for a way to make money, it's Sentinel. I'm just telling you straight away, it is Sentinel. Using good Sentinels and using them every map, being fast and efficient with them, using them in the correct places is just absolutely ridiculous. It absolutely pours out basic currency. You can get insane rewards like Scarabs, Expedition currency, Breach, Ritual Splinters, everything in the game drops from Sentinel. Even synthesized items and fractured items drop from it. It's absolutely crazy how good the rewards are and how quick you can deal with these things. Okay. So, step 1 is of course going to be talking about the Sentinels. So which ones are good and actually how do you use them? So overall, the best Sentinel is the red one. So the red one empowers the most monsters overall, and it's also the easiest to use. When you're using this one, all you need to do is basically just pop it at the start of the map once you find some monsters. If you take the right nodes on the tree, which I'm about to show you, it'll basically be up for more than enough time to empower all the monsters that you need to get the full bonus from empowerment, which is fantastic. We'll talk about empowerment after we go over the colors. The blue one is, in my opinion, the next easiest and the next best to use. So the blue one is pretty much a strong box juicer. That's basically its purpose. So it's actually reasonably easy to use this one in your map, but you're not going to get the best results unless you use it on a massive pack. And so often is the case that you're going through, you're smashing, and you'll accidentally kill all the packs before you even get a chance to pop your Pandemonium Sentinel at the right time. And it's not very similar to the red one, unfortunately. It's not something that you can pop whenever you want. After you pop it, it gets one shot before despawning, so you have to make the shot count. And you don't want to be killing stuff while it's charging up and getting ready to shoot. So overall, the best place to use these is strong boxes. Now, fortunately for us, we can guarantee one of those in every single map. And we can even guarantee 2 in the end game once you start getting stuff like Stream of Consciousness, as well as the notables, which remove mechanics. So overall, Pandemonium Sentinel should always be used and is very good in use with the strong boxes that you find in your map. But if you can't find any strong boxes, my advice is to run a little bit ahead in your map and then, scout out some packs, let them run towards you, and then bam, pop that Pandemonium Sentinel and you'll empower everything and it'll be just fantastic. Okay, the Apex Sentinel. So this is the one I actually started out with at the start, and I was testing around with it, I was playing around with it and I was checking it out. But it actually doesn't seem that strong. I think part of the reason for that is that the rares and the empowerment mechanic is just so powerful on higher enemies that it makes them very hard to kill. And at this stage of the game, from day 1, it's pretty difficult to deal with those. I'm not saying that the Apex Sentinel is bad, but if you're just starting out, there's a no-brainer. You don't want to use this one. You want to use the blue and the red ones primarily. And that leads us very well into the next part of it, which is talking about empowerment and the Sentinel skill tree. But first we need to talk about empowerment. So empowerment is an interesting mechanic. The actual random loot tiles that get assigned during empowerment are absolutely abundant. There's so many of them, so much so that when you pop your Stalker Sentinel, you can expect it to fire 1 pack and get like 3 loot rewards. It's absolutely crazy. And your Pandemonium Sentinel is going to literally create loot explosions when you pop that strong box. You get like big explosions of currency if you make sure you do it right, which is absolutely crazy. So the loot tiles are abundant, and you can guarantee more loot tiles using the modifiers on the Stalker. Now, how many loot tiles you'll actually get on your empowerments and your empowerment thing, monsters and stuff like that, is actually based on the empowerment number itself. So the higher it is, the higher chance that you're going to get loot tiles. That's just how it works. There's also other modifiers that increase the chance to get that. We'll get into that in a little bit later on. But anyway, empowerment is really, really important. Having a higher empowerment is really good. And also having good mods, you know, take what you can get. We'll get to that later on. But it is pretty good to have good mods as well. So you can see here, 4.7% chance for empowered enemies to have a currency reward. So this Stalker Sentinel empowers 85 enemies, so it's roughly about 5 enemies per map that I'm getting a currency reward from. And from my anecdotal testing, in red maps, they drop about a stack of currency. They can either drop 3 Scours, 3 Chaos Orbs, you know, it's that along those kind of lines. 1 to 3, a stack of 1 to 3 currency items. They can, you know, drop quite a lot of stuff like that. It's quite good. Similar story with the Pandemonium Sentinel, but of course you need to make sure you time it right in a strong box or something like that, and it is going to be pretty good as well. So overall, it's really, really profitable, and if you're struggling overall, I would recommend going back to white maps, doing Sentinel for a few hours, or just, you know, spending some time in white and yellows where you can smash the empowerment mechanic, you can smash the monsters, and just gear up with Sentinel. It's really, really, really profitable. It just drops raw currency, drops scarabs, drops everything, so you're just going to be flowing with money. All right, so the next question is, okay, my Sentinels suck, Grimro. Why do yours seem to be so OP? Well, that is because, first of all, I have a full power unit tree here on the Sentinel controller. And second of all, it's because I have focused on 2 Sentinels as opposed to most people who logically think, oh, 3 Sentinels is better, I'm going to go with 3. So the way that the Sentinel controller is working is that it's basically a second skill tree. And as you use Sentinels, you will continue to gain experience and you will continue to gain skill points in this tree. And overall, a skill point essentially allows you to assign one of these filaments. The more skill points you have, the more filaments you can assign. And connecting the nodes here with filaments will essentially give you additional bonuses. See, you can have this. See how this lights up? It goes from 8% to add to my my bonus here. So overall, you have a total of 30 levels that you can acquire. And the first recommendation I want to give you guys is for all players to take this node here. Empowered monsters grant 30% increased Sentinel power. This is essentially a 30% more EXP multiplier for you in your maps. So you're going to be able to get to 30 much, much faster. And overall, that's going to be really, really good. Okay, so everyone should be taking this node here, and then you can respec it later on when you get to level 30, but that's the first node I want to recommend taking. Okay, so the next thing I think you need to focus on is a combination of either red and blue, or red and yellow, or just something along those lines. The red one, as I mentioned, is the best. So you either want to go with red and yellow or red and blue. That's kind of the thinking there. And you want to focus on them. You don't want to split your focus. And the reason for that is that there's 3 prongs to this tree here. And each prong specializes in powering up a specific Sentinel. Sometimes by orders of magnitude of double power. It's that good. So you'll notice that, let's take a look at the Apex Sentinel, for example. So you can see that all these notables here empower the Apex Sentinel. So you can see here, this one saps enemies. This one makes it so they empower an additional enemy. This one means they can be like used a little bit more easily. And this one, this is a big one. You can see Apex Sentinels do not empower rare enemies, but they grant 30% increased rewards. So that's a 30% more loot multiplier as long as you're empowering uniques. So they can be exiles, they can be, you know, bosses or anything you want, which is really, really strong. I imagine that's gonna be pretty good later on. And then you have stuff like this, which is gonna basically give you a chance for rewards to be doubled. A 20% chance. That's crazy. It's essentially another 20% true more loot multiplier from Apex Sentinels. So Apex Sentinels are really good, but they're really, really niche. You want to use them on specific high value targets, which is not the name of the game for early game. When you're in white and yellow maps, you don't want to be doing high health, high value targets. No, 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 no. You want to be focusing on other things. So that's the yellow tree. You'll notice they're all specific to the Apex Sentinel. Now you will have some generic stuff here in the middle here, which is like this experience here, this Sentinel power, and you'll notice that in between the different colors, there'll be generic stuff which you can pick up and kind of cherry pick and you know, power up a Sentinel tree with that way. All right. Okay, so let's talk about the Stalker and the Pandemonium Sentinel, the ones that I'm recommending that you use here. Again, the Stalker Sentinel, pop at the start of the map, and then the Pandemonium Sentinel, you pop on the strong boxes. So you'll notice that the small nodes give you just basically a ton of quality life. They give you a ton of duration. They can give you a chance to add additional rewards, which you definitely should look into, and all sorts of stuff like that, not use charges, etc., etc. But the big focus, the big draw cards is going to be the big nodes for the most part. And you'll notice that I have picked up the Stalker quality of life nodes, and that is because I think that there's a lot of value in having the mechanic feel good and also not impeding on your character's clear speed. So I think it's absolutely imperative on the red one to pick up the Stalker quality of life nodes, and that's the follows. So this one will essentially make it fire 2 beams, so it's going to actually empower mobs twice as fast, which is fantastic. So overall, that's going to make it a lot better for your Stalker Sentinel to not suck so much. And then in addition to that, you can also make it so the Stalker Sentinel's beams chain. Okay, so a base Stalker Sentinel will fire at 1 mob, bang. But an empowered Stalker Sentinel will fire 2 beams, and then they'll both chain. So you go from firing 1 at 1 target to 4. So it's 4 times as efficient at empowering mobs with the Stalker Sentinel. So you have to take those nodes, in my opinion, on pretty much every tree. Otherwise, it's not going to feel very good unless you have a very specific Stalker or Atlas tree that you're going for, which like you don't need to worry about the quality of life. But if you're mapping in general, you probably want to go for those nodes there. It's pretty good. Okay, the other things that the Stalker Sentinel specializes in is just adding a ton of loot tile rewards to all of the enemies. You'll notice that a lot of them are themed around that and giving you a ton of juice in relation to that, which is pretty damn good. So overall, the Stalker Sentinel's a big mainstay. He's pretty good to use after you actually get your notables in, and overall, it's going to be pretty damn good. All right, Pandemonium Sentinel. So, as I mentioned, the red one's the most powerful, but the blue one's not bad either. You just need to time him right. Now, there's a few things that you're going to want to be looking at with your Pandemonium Sentinels. So your Pandemonium Sentinels, the main important node to get is, of course, this one down here. Pandemonium Sentinels spawn a pack of monsters on deployment. So essentially what this means is that when you pop the Sentinel, it will actually spawn monsters with it, and it'll empower all those monsters. So you get a baseline amount of monsters with every Pandemonium Sentinel you pick up. Also, in my opinion, you also want to go for Pandemonium Sentinels can be deployed in additional time. So it just means you can use them twice per area, which is essentially double loot from your Pandemonium Sentinels, which is really, really damn good. It means you get the 3 Sentinels that you're used to, but you only have to spec into 2 of them, which is actually really, really efficient, and overall it's going to be a pretty good time. Let me pull open a quick map for you guys here. What's a good one? We can go in this atoll. We'll just jump in a white atoll right now. Whoops, actually went in this burial chambers. But I'll give you kind of a little bit of a look at how it ends up playing out in the end game with a kind of a reasonably geared up character. You can kind of see how it's going to look here. And then we'll go into Sentinel modifiers, and we'll round out with some a few more further tips here, and maybe talk a little bit about the combining of them and the acquisition of them, because you are going to get a lot of Sentinels. You'll have a big range of ones that you can select and choose from. So you can see here, we're empowering everything. We already got some loot here, which is pretty good. We've still got plenty of juice left on our Sentinel here, and we're going to be talking a lot about itemization here coming up as well. So we want to let our Sentinel empower stuff, but he's also pretty good at empowering stuff. Okay, we got a Rogue Exile there. That's pretty good. Whoa, we got a Recombinator. Those are worth 8C each, and that's going to be something that you want to make sure you don't undervalue. Recombinators that you get, you want to be valuing appropriately. You also do want to be a little careful with what you allow your Stalker Sentinel to empower, so you don't get too insane. But you know, that's definitely something you're gonna have to worry about yourselves. But yeah, so basically you get a ton of loot, you get a ton of essences in this case, and a bunch of bubblegum currency, which we've picked up here already. And that's already just one Sentinel out of the way. You can see it didn't take me any time at all, hardly. I'm already packing a bunch of heat from that and getting a bunch of rewards. And this isn't even a very good Sentinel that I'm using right now. So overall, it can be incredibly profitable, and I definitely recommend doing it in white and yellow maps. It'll be a good way to pick up your first few exalts and get your build rolling. So in the case that you don't have a strong box nearby, this is essentially what I like to do for the Pandemonium Sentinel. I like to run around, find a pack like that. I like to pop my Pandemonium Sentinel, and then we get some good loot there. That was a bit of a weak one. But you know, we can't have a win everywhere. This would have been a better place to pop it, actually. I'm still learning when to pop them as well, but it is definitely a pretty seamless approach to using it if you don't have a strong box. Just run up, find some packs, gather them up, pop it up, and make sure the Pandemonium Sentinel actually stays on your screen. I have noticed a bit of an issue or a bit of a bug which happens when they're not on your screen. He doesn't fire sometimes, so make sure you keep him on your screen. That's pretty important. But other than that, you should be pretty good to go with him. I'm just trying to find a strong box here so I can show you guys the Pandemonium Sentinel on the bottom. box and how it's pretty good. Okay, quick disclaimer here with Harbingers. So if you empower a bunch of monsters with Harbingers, you can do so. They will give rewards. However, when the King Harby or the Harby despawns, even if there's monsters still remaining with rewards, it'll despawn all those rewards on those mobs which are left. So it's actually not very good to empower Harbingers with your Sentinel. You want to avoid that. Okay, so here's the strong box. So generally, I like to clear out everything around the strong box, and then I come up, I hit it, bang, and then I pop my Sentinel, bzzz, everything gets empowered, and you're on your merry way. It looks like I got some exotic coinage. I think that's like 3C each there or something like that. I don't know, but it's pretty good. And see, it didn't take me any time at all, literally no time at all, and I got some free loot from that. Okay, so obviously Sentinel is incredibly rewarding. You're going to be getting 8C recombinators everywhere. You're going to be getting a ton of currency, and like random labor mechanics, and all sorts of stuff like that. Very, very good. Let's talk a little bit about why you have so many damn Sentinels, and they're everywhere. Dude, I'm infinite Sentinels. My Sentinel cache is already full, and you know, like, what are you gonna do with these Sentinels, man? Well, there's a ton of things that you can do with them. Okay, so you definitely get a lot of them. No doubt about it. And you don't get that many power cores, so you can't just randomly combine them all. Okay, well, what are you going to do with them? So first up, there is another node on the tree, which I'm going to recommend taking, and that is going to be this one here. Found normal rarity Sentinels upgrade to magic rarity. This one, in my opinion, again, is one of those ones which is like, everyone should take it. And the reason for that is that the modifiers that you can get on Sentinels are incredibly powerful. So you'll notice here, this one has a 4.7% currency. You know, that's not uncommon to get. And when we talk a little bit about bloodlines later on, you can pretty much perpetuate this very, very, very long into the future. You'll get to a point where every single Sentinel you're running is going to be good. But in order to get to that point, at least start, how are you going to do it? Well, you're going to end up with an inundation of Sentinels. Pick them all up, every single one of them. Make sure that you're taking out nodes to their blue. You don't want ones like this. You literally can't do anything with this, man. It has no mods, and if you try and recombine it, it's going to have no mods unless it randomly gets one again. You need ones with existing good mods, otherwise it's going to suck. And we'll talk about that in the full guide coming up here later on once I figure everything out. But the things you want to do is identify them all, and you can do that by typing in unID'd Sentinel. And you can like go through, you identify them all, right? And then what you want to do next is come in here and type reward. All right, so reward is the operative word here. Yes, you can get some other really good words here, but it's the main basic one which will allow you to sort through the massive bulk of Sentinels we have here. Okay, so when you're looking for a good Sentinel to run, and you're not sure which one, there's a few things you want to look at here. Okay, so number one, the baseline empowerment mechanic is actually just ridiculous, okay? So you're looking for example, on your Stalker Sentinel specifically, how many enemies it can empower, all right? So this one can empower 85 enemies, right? But there's other Stalker Sentinels, maybe I can find one here, this one only empowers 31 enemies, that sucks, right? So this 85 literally has 2 times more loot potential than this one over here. So this base absolutely is ass. So you really want to get a really, really high number of enemy empowerment, specifically, as I mentioned, on the Stalker Sentinel, but also on the Pandemonium Sentinel, because you will get a pretty good amount of mobs that spawn from the Pandemonium Sentinel itself, as well as the strong boxes that you're popping it on. So you can see here, this Stalker Sentinel, which I didn't even know I had, has a chance to give me Delirium rewards, which is Simulacrum Splinters and also the Cluster Jewels, which is pretty good. So this will be pretty good. It's got 85 enemies. It's got pretty high empowerment, so I'm going to get a lot of loot tile rewards, and I've got some other loot tile rewards I'm going to get here as well. Now, also, quick disclaimer, don't be put off by jewelry, armor, and weapons. These types of rewards can drop synthesized and fractured items, which is actually pretty damn good in the late game. So if you see jewelry and you're like, oh no, it's okay, you could get a +1 power charge ring or something like that. Yes, it's unlikely, but you could get it. All right, so overall, not too shabby. So that's definitely something you need to look at. But yeah, you'll type it in reward, and you're going to be able to see here that all of these things, like a Delirium reward over here, Blight reward over here, I already used that one, Essence reward over here, so you can see that you can start quickly sorting through them, and you're looking for ones which have rewards which you might be interested in. So overall, the best one is probably going to be currency early on when you're starting out, but you'll also notice here, you can get mods like this, 16% increased chance to add rewards. Okay, so this is essentially how often it's going to add rewards through empowerment. So if you, for example, pop your Stalker Sentinels, and normally you get like 10 or 15 rewards on the enemies that you are killing, well, this 16% is going to increase that to, you know, like 12 to like 16 or 17 rewards. So it's like kind of like getting 2 extra rewards, which isn't actually that bad, but it's certainly not insane, but it is something you want to use over your normal no mod Sentinels, which is actually not too bad. So this one has Scarab. I'm saving this one up for the next thing I want to talk about here, and that is bloodlines. Okay, so in order to combine Sentinels here, I guess we can combine this one. Oh man, hopefully I don't lose it. We'll combine it with, what are we going to combine it with? We'll combine it with I want to combine it with another, this one. Okay, we'll just combine it with this one. All right, so we're going to go here. The way to combine is to grab a power core, which you don't want to be using willy-nilly, in my opinion, because you don't get that many of them. And you want to right-click on it. And right-clicking on it will open this menu here. Now, this is the Sentinel assembly menu. So essentially, all you need to do is you can put full Sentinels or, depleted Sentinels or any Sentinel in here, and you can combine them. Now, we're not entirely sure how this works here, but I can tell you a few things. So if you put 2 Sentinels in with the same base type, it will always give you the resulting same base type. It's basically 50% chance from each, unless you get a mutation, in which you should always be happy because the mutated bases are always better. So overall, you're always going to get a base that you can expect. Now, when it comes to the mods, it's basically going to put all of the mods into a pool, and it's going to be like a 50-50 chance to get some mods from one and some mods from another. That's kind of generally how it works. So if I recombine these now, I'm probably expecting to get a few mods from the right and a few mods from the left. Let's see what we end up getting. Okay, so you can see it's combining here. Looks like it's going to be blue, and I lost my scarabs. God damn it. Anyway, you can see here that we mainly got the mods on the right, and that's going to happen. You could get all the mods from one Sentinel and none of them from the other. You could get half and half, or you can, get a mix. That's generally kind of how it's going to be going. Now, when you're combining Sentinels, there is a chance to create new modifiers. That definitely does happen, and these can be from either 2 pools of mods. They can be from the base mods, which are essentially stuff like the chance to get currency and all sorts of stuff like that, or they can be from the mutation mods. Now, the mutation mods don't seem to be available anywhere online to view right now, but some of them seem to be quite strong, like for example the chance to double rewards, which is pretty interesting, which could have a lot of implications in the future, but overall pretty damn good. Now, okay, this Sentinel was a bit of a fail. It's definitely not a very good Sentinel overall, but it's not too bad either. It's okay. It's definitely one that I would consider using overall. It's not the end of the world. But the main objective that you want to do from here is essentially try and reuse the husks of already good Sentinels. So in this case, if I had combined 2 Scarab Sentinels instead of 1 Scarab Sentinel and a random one, I'd have a pretty high chance, very, very high chance, I would actually guarantee to get Scarabs again. So I'd essentially be turning my 2 Scarab Sentinels, which I've already used, into another Scarab Sentinel. So it's like it's almost like recycling. I get another Scarab Sentinel out of that. Now, I really shouldn't have combined that one, but you can kind of see where I'm going with this. As long as you're combining similar mods with similar mods on similar bases, and also combining mods that you think are good, you should eventually be able to perpetuate your Sentinel mod pool through finding all of these Sentinels, sorting through them using this method that I showed you, using the ones which are good, putting those in a tab, and then recombining them. You can kind of really start to get a very, very strong kind of pool of Sentinels going. And once you start getting the mutated bases, well, you can use the same method that I just used there. You can pretty much guarantee the base type by using 2 mutated bases there as well. And you can start to see how you're going to end up getting these really, really consistent pools of Sentinels. Yes, you might have to venture out into the larger gene pool to kind of get some new Sentinels to reintroduce if you start running out of population. But you can really start to get some really insane Sentinels through your breeding program here. Overall, it's pretty damn cool. And you pretty much get like 1.5 Sentinels every time you find a good one, because you can combine it again later on. So overall, this is just the tip of the iceberg, man. But this is all I have for today. It's day 1. I've been focusing on gearing up my character, of course. Hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you do and you're enjoying Sentinel League, make sure to like the video and tell me what you guys think down below. Sorry for the no editing. I'll see you guys in the next one. Cheers.